And there's posts with 100 likes. Ray Burrell 162 likes on a Ray Burrell layup. And then 1.1k because it's a Paige Becker's post. And obviously Paige Becker's got some sort of a deflection here. And the coach that would absolutely love more than anything to have Paige Becker's on her team, Stephanie White. I stand by this. I do stand by this. If Stephanie White was given free reign to trade Caitlin Clark for Paige Becker's, she is what I believe. I fully believe Stephanie White is.
Team USA is running its pre-tournament training camp ahead of the September window, and the contrast in public interest compared to the previous cycle could not be more pronounced. The buzz surrounding this group is essentially non-existent relative to what the program was generating when Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese were part of the picture. Even with Paige Buchers back in the fold, the numbers tell a cold story. A look at the engagement figures on Team USA's posts reinforces the point quickly.
She is what I believe. I fully believe Stephanie White is one of the maybe two to three coaches in the world that would make that trade. That being said as well, there are a lot of interesting players. Juju's back playing. Like, Juju Watkins is back playing. And again, nothing has been said about this. Like, this is a player that, obviously, look, she's missed a year with an ACL tear. Like, there should be no expectation Juju Watkins to be in any way decent.
A Ray Burrell layup clip pulled 62 likes. A Buchers post drew 1,100, noticeably higher, though still modest by any reasonable benchmark. The reality with both Buchers and Reese is that a significant portion of their social media traction has historically come from their connection to Clark, either competing against her or playing alongside her. Remove that dynamic, and neither player carries the same gravitational pull with general audiences on their own.
Expectation Juju Watkins to be in any way decent, because she's not going to be at this level anyway. But like, she's back off an ACL tear. And if you're looking at this again, like, it's a weird camp of players. Like, Michaela Blake's, Veronica Burton's kind of cool. Like, Steph Dolson being there is an odd one. I think she was, if I'm not mistaken, Steph Dolson was on the team that won the 3x3 Olympics in 2021. But like, that's probably not enough to get a...
Several other notable names are at camp. Juju Watkins has returned after missing a full season recovering from an ACL tear, which means expectations should remain tempered regardless of what she shows in practice settings. Veronica Burton is there, Michaela Blake is in the mix, Brittany Sykes is present, and Cameron Brink has been turning heads with her length, and shot blocking. Her defensive footprint is genuinely impressive regardless of what any official roster listing says about her height relative to teammates. On the floor, Chelsea Gray appears set for a starting role at point guard, which follows the Team USA pattern of rewarding players based on historical standing rather than current form, a tendency that nearly cost the program in the last Olympics when the rotation relied too heavily on older legs.
But like, that's probably not enough to get a spot in get a spot in anything else Team USA related, if we're being completely honest here. But at the end of the day, she's there. You're looking at clips here of Cam Brink swatting shots, Brittany Sykes there, and Cam Brink with a nice block right there. Cam Brink's length is actually, like, she is... I love how Aja gained an inch to her height, and there's a 0% chance Aja's taller than Cam Brink. Rakia...
Sabrina Ionescu, who missed the unrivaled season with an injury, is also back in action, and her return to full health is a positive development for the program, regardless of role assignments. The broader conversation, though, keeps circling back to the same conclusion. The Aja Wilson post drew around 2,000 likes. The Ionescu and Wilson combined post reached approximately 3,200.
Rakia, it's good to see her back playing. You got Paige Becker's there again. And it's very, very clear, by the way, if people don't know. It's so funny, people being like, oh, Paige Beckers is going to play point guard. Paige Beckers played 0 minutes of point guard for Team USA in World Cup qualifiers. Like, she played 0 possessions at point as the primary point guard, unless she caught a rebound and was dribbling the ball to the halfway line. She played 0 minutes at point guard in the entire thing. And people don't watch basketball, still like, oh, Paige is actually...
Those are respectable figures in isolation, but they sit nowhere near the engagement territory that Clark's presence produced during the World Cup qualifying stretch. At that camp, a single moment, Clark recovering defensively, Closing out on a shooter and converting what could have been a wide-open three into a contested mid-range pull-up was replayed hundreds of thousands of times across platforms. That same clip circulated for days. Nothing from the current camp has come close to that kind of organic spread.
In the entire thing. And people don't watch basketball, still like, oh, Paige is going to, Chelsea Gray is the starting point guard and Paige Becker is going to be the backup. Caitlin Clark is going to be the main point guard. Chelsea Gray is going to be the starting point guard because it's Team USA. They literally start players based on how good they were 8 years ago. They nearly lost the Olympics because of it, because they took a Chelsea Gray who couldn't run. So you've got here the ball swung to Sabrina Ionescu, who also, by the way, Sabrina does not play point guard for Team USA at all. You're seeing Brittany Sykes taking the ball up there.
There is a reasonable argument that the qualifier cycle was an outlier, that the level of attention it received was unusual for what is typically a lower-profile event on the women's basketball calendar. The counter-argument is straightforward. If that was the anomaly, then Clark herself is the anomaly, and the sport needs to be honest about what that means structurally. Even the Cooper flag moment during a men's Team USA camp, which generated significant discussion, did not produce the sustained repeated content engagement that Clark's training camp appearances did. The projection for what women's basketball looks like without Clark is uncomfortable for the league, but worth sitting with honestly.
And yeah, it is, again, it's a good thing seeing Sabrina Ionescu back as well in back to basketball, because I didn't even realize Sabrina had gotten hurt. I had no idea. Obviously, missed the Unrivaled season. Said she was hurt. I don't think she would have played in Unrivaled anyway. But obviously, easier to be hurt. But you're looking here, and you're looking at a couple of these. Even the Aja Wilson post, if she's there, 2,000 likes. 2,000 likes. Like, what was the Sabrina and Aja post?
The general read among those tracking viewership trends is that a Clark retirement would send overall numbers back toward a midpoint somewhere between the 2023 baseline and the 2024 peak, not a total collapse, but a meaningful pullback from the current ceiling. The floor rises slightly because of structural growth, but the extraordinary spike disappears with her. What the current camp makes visible, more than anything, is how much of the audience was tuned in specifically for one person rather than for the product broadly. That is not a criticism of the players currently in that gym. It is simply an honest accounting of where the attention lives in women's basketball right now.
2,000 likes. Like, what was the Sabrina and Aja post? 3.2 thousand likes. But you're looking at, like, Caitlin Clark. And the funniest thing about this is, I always say this, it is Caitlin Clark. That's the only thing. Because when Paige Beckers shows up to a Team USA camp and Caitlin Clark is there, I'm not even going to call her fans, the Caitlin Clark haters make sure as hell that they come out in force to super like every single post when it comes to
a couple of notable WNBA storylines are developing simultaneously, and together they paint a complicated picture for the league heading into a very busy stretch. On the free agency front, Breanna Stewart has made her intentions clear. She will be returning to the New York Liberty and has stated outright that she will not be scheduling meetings with any other teams. The decision removes any suspense around one of the most significant offseason questions in the league.
Meetings, and that's all there is to it. So she's coming right out and saying, I'm not even going to look at other teams. I'm not going to look at other teams at all. In all of this, I'm coming back to the Liberty, and look, this is awfully convenient to have Breanna Stewart have some news during this same video in which I tell you
New York will have her back, and that is settled. The more layered story involves Project B, the emerging global women's basketball league, which continues to expand its player pool in ways that are starting to draw serious attention. The latest addition is Awa Pham, a prospect widely projected to go with the first overall selection in the April 13th WNBA draft. Project B co-founder and chief basketball officer Alana Beard described Pham as someone with genuine potential to become a major international figure in the sport.
News during this same video in which I tell you Project B, well, it seems they're adding more players. They're shifting their start date. Not good news for Unrivaled. All the while, Unrivalled's headed into the last year of their media rights deal with TNT Sports, with Warner Brothers, who just got bought by Paramount.
The comment that many people are unfamiliar with her simply because she has been playing in Spain rings true, but anyone who has watched her in the World Cup qualifiers already has a sense of what is coming. She is long, physically imposing, and unusually skilled around the basket for a player her size. Finishing at the rim, executing finger rolls, converting contact, these are things the league has genuinely needed from a big, and FAM appears to bring exactly that. Project B now has 13 signed players with plans to field 6 teams of 11 inches its first season.
Got bought by Paramount. Economics is going to be a thing. And now they're going to land. And you see this headline Annie Constable put up. The projected top. People are saying that Iowa FAM may be the number 1 overall pick in this WNBA draft, and she is now signed with Project B. Ooh, all right. Yikes. So what?
The roster already includes Kelsey Mitchell, Nikki McRae-Penson, Sophie Cunningham, Alyssa Thomas, Jonquil Jones, Jewel Lloyd, and Camila Cardoso, among others. Financial terms of FAM's deal were not released, though Front Office Sports had previously reported the league has been offering multi-million-dollar annual salaries to targeted players. The start date has also shifted.
So what is that? Kelsey Mitchell, Nika Agumake, Sophie Cunningham, Alyssa Thomas, Jonquil Jones, Jewel Lloyd, Camila Cardoso. This is going to get interesting. I did the math earlier. There's over 50 players that hadn't signed yet. And now we knew, look, the CBA and
originally announced for November, the inaugural season will now begin in December. The reason is fairly straightforward under the new WNBA collective bargaining agreement. The latest possible end date for the WNBA season is November 21st, extending to November 30th by 2028. Project B adjusted its calendar to avoid overlap rather than compete directly with the tail end of the WNBA schedule.
The CBA and added games in the WNBA was going to slide the season down from the WNBA. Project B took care of that. They just slid their season down a little bit. So this was the comments made right here. By the way, the latest signing may go number 1 overall in the WNBA draft on April 13th. That's 13 days away, folks. Quote, she has a lot of potential to be the next global superstar. Project B.
Beard framed the flexibility as intentional, describing the league's positioning as collaborative within the broader women's basketball space rather than adversarial. The confirmed tour stops so far include Valencia from March 12th through the 21st and Tokyo from March 26th through April 4th. 7 total stops are expected across Asia, Europe, and the Americas, with the remaining locations still to be announced.
To be the next global superstar, Project B co-founder, chief basketball officer, Alana Beard, told Front Office Sports. A lot of people don't know her because she's in Spain, but I can tell you just from my impressions of her, she's going to surprise a lot of people. We watched her play. We just saw her play in the World Cup qualifiers. She damn well looks the part. Before I decided to do this video, I went back and just looked at some film of her. You want to talk about a big that can actually hit a...
The timing puts meaningful pressure on Unrivaled. That league is heading into the final year of its media rights arrangement with TNT Sports and Warner Brothers Discovery, the latter of which recently completed a merger with Paramount. The economics of renewal are already complicated, and the viewership numbers have not helped the case.
You want to talk about a big that can actually hit a layup in this, which is something that this league sorely does not have? Yeah, she's hitting layups, finger rolls, you name it. And she's long. She's got size. Details of FAM's contract was not disclosed, but Front Office Sports had previously reported the league was offering WNBA stars multi-million-dollar salaries. They've got 13 players.
The Unrivaled Championship drew roughly 280,000 viewers, a figure that, for context, came in nearly 200,000 below the lowest-rated game of the USFL season, which itself had an entry that nearly reached 1 million viewers. When a league's signature event draws fewer viewers than the floor of a competing regional football product, the conversations with broadcast partners become very difficult very quickly. Project B has continued to downplay questions about its ownership and funding sources, including ongoing speculation about the origins of its financial backing.
The league will field 6 teams of 11 players in its inaugural season. The start date, first to be expected in November, will actually be in December, according to sources familiar with the league's business operations. Since the WNBA-CBA was finalized, questions have swirled around potential conflict between the WNBA's end of season and the beginning of Project B. The last possible end date for the WNBA season under the new CBA.
Those questions are unlikely to disappear, but the league is clearly building momentum regardless. Signing the projected top pick in the upcoming WNBA draft before that player has even heard her name called is a statement that goes well beyond roster construction. It signals intent, resources, and an ability to move quickly that Unrivaled, in its current form, has not been able to match.